Hello guys, in another episode of Omnipotent Growth with Kal. Today we are going to talk about happiness and leadership and how to combine them. We are very prepared for today's topic, so I want to welcome you in the episode and I want to say hi to Stefan.
Hi Kal, nice to be here. Hello to our listeners and viewers.
So let's start.
When we started our talk on emotional intelligence, we promised to dig deeper into the topic. Today I want to talk to you about the happiness through the angle of the emotional intelligence and leaders. Allow me to quote you here. We tend to think for leaders as machines. They have to do their job, they have to reach their goals. But we often neglect the happiness as something to think of in a future tense. Again, as you said, the happiness of the leader is as much important as of their subordinates. There is a psychological research that the people whose basic needs are fulfilled are happy, while if their basic needs are not satisfied, people feel unhappy despite the prestige, fame, and titles. The basic human needs are divided into two categories, social and individual. First of all, we are all social creatures and we need to belong, to be surrounded by important, close to us in different contexts, other people. This gives us the feeling of safety. Secondly, we need to feel being recognized. This acknowledgement is expressed through the feeling that we are accepted and recognized for who we are. We understand this through the feedback from the people that are important to us. Oftentimes, when our basic needs are not satisfied, our subconscious replaces the real pleasure with meta pleasure or material wealth. Deborah Dunn, who has worked in Silicon Valley for decades as Hewlett-Packard executive, acknowledged the constant pressures from external sources. She says, the path of accumulating material possessions is clearly laid out. You know how to measure it. If you don't pursue that path, people wonder what is wrong with you. The only way to avoid getting caught up in materialism is to understand where you find happiness and fulfillment. Leaders need to find a balance between their extrinsic and intrinsic motivations. Extrinsic motivators are recognition and status that come with promotions and financial rewards. Intrinsic motivations, on the other hand, are derived from their sense of meaning of their life. The key is to find a balance between your desires of external validation and the intrinsic motivations that provide fulfillment in your work. Kal, how could a leader balance between extrinsic and intrinsic motivations so that he feels internal peace and satisfaction?
I have a quite idea because every person, not every leader, but every person on this planet had to deal with what is material and how does it affect on my happiness. Should I have this or that to be happy? And this is the core question here is chasing happiness something that makes you happy? And it isn't. In the many years that I've researched the topic for myself, I found out something that I haven't seen in books, and I wanted to start with that. I have a few things that I want to mention in this episode, but I want to start with the diversification of interests. And this is something that I found out it works really great for people that are achievers, that are competitive, that want to always do their best work and so on and so forth. So when you diversify, let's say you have your work, you have your hobby, you have your family. And if you have only work, then you will never be satisfied as much as if you can split your focus to somewhere else. For example, where things in work are not going well, of course, you will do everything in your power to change that. But the outcome, it's not always on you. It's not always completely dependent on you. So if you continue thinking and dwelling on that after everything you've done it's only hurting you in so many ways. And for example, if you can change focus, let's say you have a hobby of reading philosophy, and here is one of the things that I wanna mention, that Stoicism is a practice, a philosophical practice that is over 2,000 years old, and it goes far back to Epictetus, Seneca, and they have many followers like Marcus Aurelius and so on. But this is very in our time, in the time that we live in. It's very materialistic time, so Stoicism helps a lot. I've researched the topic. I've read quite a few books about it. Mm-hmm. I won't go too deep, but I would mention that people like Tim Ferriss, for example, they extract ideas from Stoicism and implement them for the world that we live in now.
Can you briefly outline what is Stoicism and its main ideas?
For sure. So the idea here is that you have to understand the gifts that you have. So it goes back to another topic that I would mention, which is the reverse gap. So the things that you have right now, Stoicists meditate on their mortality. So you have to know that you are mortal, that you have a limited time on this earth, and you have to enjoy it in the end, in a nutshell. Like, of course, a lot can be said about that, but in a nutshell, enjoy your time because it's a gift. You overthink, we tend to overthink our problems. So many problems that never happened torture us more than the problems that happened. And if you, if you try to really separate them, for example, I've already mentioned Tim Ferriss's list of what is the worst that can happen, and then how can I react? What can I do to prepare? And then you put it off your mind, because otherwise it's just poison. Yeah. And those are the things that surround Stoicism, like simple life, understanding that breathing air, the taste of food, things like that are the gift, and you don't need any more to be happy. So and content, because you said intrinsic and extrinsic. The intrinsic motivators and the intrinsic self-conscious are what is up to you. So this is the focus of Stoicism. You don't bother yourself with opinions of others. You don't bother yourself with things that you cannot change and you cannot alter, and so on and so forth. So it's a very interesting topic. I suggest people take a look. But back to the diversification of interests. So I found out that when I'm doing professional sport, when I'm trying to let's say, create more levels of professional wisdom for me, when I'm trying to have good relationships with my family and friends, and also when I'm trying to develop myself in different ways. For example, as we said, some type of philosophy, some spirituality, and a lot of course, a lot of strategy, tactics, and things that are applicable. But I tend to look at it more broadly. When I reverse focus, when I tend to look in the different areas, I always use the 80-20 principle, and that keeps me content. So I'm giving my best 20% to each of those. And of course, when you have a work, when you're employed, you have a lot more than 20%. You give maybe 120, but in a limited time. So you have the weekends and the early mornings, the nights, and so on, so forth for the other stuff. So you break the tension from one and go to the another, and this is a change of focus, and can connect to a lot of things like how you find your meaning, what accomplishments you do. Because if you do your mindset correctly, and for you, every book that you read is a win. So small wins set up, and the power of small wins is underrated. So if you have the correct mindset, the correct growth mindset, that learning is your priority, and when you learn something new, then you win. Then this is one of the hacks, one of the small tactics that you can use, and always build on your happiness. Yeah, so let's continue, because I can talk forever.
Yeah, you talked about what about the increasing motivations, like learning, diversification of interests, and so on. But at the same time, there is a strong pressure from the society and from extrinsic motivators, such as financial rewards, cars, you name it. So how do you balance between those two? How do you resist the external pressure to accumulate as much wealth, material wealth as possible?
As I said, my personal way is to diversify. To go with my family somewhere for the weekend costs a lot less than I can make. A fishing trip costs a lot less than I can make. This is something that every financial structure will tell you, that you should live on less that you make, and then you will have more that you need. So sports, I created a way in which it doesn't cost me anything to train. Not anything, but it's neglectable. Reading books, they're not so expensive. So every month you can buy. For me, books are so underrated. Like, they're really cheaper than they need to be. Because people tend to give more value on the expensive stuff. So a pair of jeans is quite more expensive for a person than a book that can change your life forever. Anyways, so things like that. And back to Stoicism, if you connect this with minimalism, in the end, you know, you can easily calculate on how much you can live with the things that make you happy. Of course, if you have on your list a Lamborghini, then you have another problem, because you need to stand up to that. But entirely, if you can diversify, you can not fight, but you can have a different perspective on the external, on the material, and all the bonuses and the pace. If you choose a right direction that can give you a little bit more that you need to be happy, so you're content, you don't have any worries. If you're chasing a big chunk of money and you need a lot to be happy, then you have to sacrifice a lot of stuff. So, but I think that most people start with that and finish with that. And when they realize that, you know, how some rich fellas are starting to say wisdom that money is not everything when they have it. And this comes from the fact that when they have enough, they start to research some more the intellectual level, the more philosophical level, and the spiritual level, and what makes us human. And you realize that no matter how many houses and cars and everything else you have, you take nothing with you, and you cannot enjoy it even when it's too much, because when you have a mansion that is 2 acres and 200 rooms, and maybe you've been in 20% of the rooms, and then you have too many cars that you cannot drive them all, and it's just piling up So yeah, it's quite philosophical question. But
Yeah,
people need to research it like for themselves. I just can give a push, a nudge in that direction.
yeah. By the way, there is a famous research that $75,000 per year are enough to make you satisfied in terms of physical needs like food and so on, and any other amounts above this threshold are actually don't make you much more happier than before that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but it's negotiable. Like this
yeah,
research is it's made like all other researches is just a partial a partial view on the landscape. Like if you talk in those terms, depending on your expenses. If you have bigger goals than this type of money, it's not enough, and then you need to have more, and so on and so forth. But yeah, we don't need to. This is beyond the scope of our episode.
Yeah, indeed. Now I would like to propose to turn to the positive psychology, which is the scientific study of the good life. Positive psychology began as a new domain of psychology in 1998 when Martin Seligman chose it as the theme for his term as president of the American Psychological Association. According to the research of Sonia Lubomirsky, who is a professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of California, Riverside, she argues that approximately 50% of your happiness is determined by genes, 10% by circumstances, and 40% is the share of our happiness that we can control. So let's focus on this 40% that we can control and discuss ways to feel happier. Martin Seligman, whom I mentioned, developed the famous PERMA model, a 5 core element of psychological well-being and happiness. P stays for positive emotion, which is focusing on positive emotions, the ability to remain optimistic and view one's past, present, and future from a constructive perspective. E is for engagement, or the so-called flow. Losing ourselves in a task or project provides with a sense of disappeared time because we are so highly engaged in this. R is for relationships. Relationships and social connections are crucial to meaningful lives. People who have meaningful, positive relationships with others are happier than those who don't. M is for meaning. Meaning comes from serving a cause bigger than ourselves. Whether it's a religion or a cause that helps humanity, we all need meaning in our lives. And A is for accomplishment and achievement. Having goals and ambition in life can help us to achieve things that can give us a sense of accomplishment. You should make realistic goals that can be met, and just putting in the effort to achieving those goals can already give you a sense of satisfaction when you finally achieve those goals, and a sense of pride and fulfillment. So, Kal, tell me, what elements of this model can we apply in of this PERMA model can we apply in our daily lives, and how? So,
because the focus of today's episode is how to do it as a leader. In our daily life as leaders, we also have the same type of needs. We need the engagement, the positivity. We need the relationships with the people that we are surrounded with. We need meaning. We need to have the vision. No matter on which level are you, you need to know that you're working for something bigger, and you're helping to put the man on the moon. Let's say this is the famous scene in which I don't remember the name of the one that asked the janitor, but he asked the janitor, "What are you doing?" And he didn't say, "I'm sweeping." He said, "I'm putting a man on the moon." This is the power of the vision, of the why, and so forth. And of course, the accomplishment and the achievements, when you relate it to happiness, it goes back to the power of the small wins, because people don't realize that the big win has the same impact as the small win. So you have the same inducing of chemicals in your mind when you finish a multi-million-dollar euro project, and the same amount of when you achieve something with, for example, the person that you coached reached his own goal. And this induces the same amount of joy in yourself. And when I say joy, there is a book, because I try in every episode to recommend a book. So there is a book called The Book of Joy, and inside this book you can hear Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Those are spiritual gurus, let's say. I don't like very much the word guru, but spiritual leaders that have a very special stance on the topic of joy. There are a lot of nuggets there. Of course, you have to be very already not an amateur in this field to understand some of the parts that they are speaking about, but still it's worth the read for sure. So the implementation, it starts with self-awareness. For example, if you know and if you outline the things that you enlisted, if you outline them, if you make a plan how to embody them into your work, and consciously, mindfully try to follow that plan, then it all can turn out really good for you. But I think now is the time to open the topic of the reverse gap. And what does this mean for a leader and for a person? Because we are all employees also, and we are all human beings. It's really not necessary, not fundamental, but it is a total must to look back and see what we have accomplished. Like pick a point in time when you look backwards and see how many things have you accomplished. Like fill your fuel levels up. And because when you only we tend to do the forward gap. We know where we stand, and we know where we want to go. But this never makes you happy. It might make you motivated. It might make you ambitious, but it won't make you happy. It will make you determined, and you still pursue. But there is no time to smell the roses. And when you sit down, and there are a lot of exercises that many of the great minds in this field suggest. One of them is to start your day. Always start your day with a gratitude list. So fill a list with few things that you're grateful for today, that you have in your life, things that you might you didn't have in the past, or you might let's say value or see that other people don't have but you have, and so on and so forth. So this really helps, and the reverse gap is the way to browse for such things. So yeah, that goes for the implementation. You have to be self-aware, mindful, and try to map that on your daily life, in your team, in your goals, and as a general.
Okay, thanks. Very interesting. So the reverse gap is something like a reflection on your own past life to assess the positive things that happened to you and to appreciate them. Is that it, more or less?
Exactly, more or less. We always forget that we already achieved so much. For other, if you want to compare yourself with others, compare how much more you have than the 95% of the population, because we are the mere fact that for example people are now watching this YouTube video, it means you have something to watch it on, like
exactly, you have internet, exactly, and
absolutely, yeah. So we are far better off that we can ever understand. And even if in our circumstances, I'm pretty sure that when you look back, you are going to understand how much you did, like the goals that you achieved in the past, the achievements, the accomplishments, like a diploma or your first job, your first paycheck, buying your parents a present, or just dropping 2 kilos of fat or whatever. There is so much, like the ability to eat good food. The list is, I'm sure that every person can fill it up really quickly with the reverse gap.
Yeah. Very useful approach indeed. So, last but not least, we as leaders have also responsibility towards our employees. In episode 13 of our podcast series, we have already spoken about how to prevent creating toxic environment for our employees. Our listeners and viewers can watch or listen to this episode once again. Here I would like to go a bit deeper with advices how to make our employees happy, not only prevent them from being miserable, but make them happy. So one of the ways is help them find their inner purpose at the workplace by asking the following questions. What are you good at doing? What do you enjoy doing? What feels most useful? Which work outcomes make you most proud? Which of your tasks are most critical to the team or organization? What are the highest priorities for your life, and how does your work fit in? What creates a sense of forward momentum? What are you learning that you use in the future? How do you envision yourself in the next 5-10 years? How do you relate to others? What would an office of your favorite people look like? How does your work enhance your family and social connections? Kal, any other advices for how to make our employees happier?
So, because we want to give practical advices, and that's the goal of the show. Yeah, a tactic that many people don't understand and underestimate is the power of the smile. Like if you want to change the attitude, if you want to change the mood of a whole room full of people, you use something as simple as a smile. So when you start smiling, there are muscles, specific muscles that are triggering a chemical process inside your brain. So it's the mere physical appearance on the smile on your face, like not only the mouth but the eyes. You just have to. This is one of the times when you fake it till you make it. So you fake a smile, but the full smile, and then it reflects with the real emotions and the real impulse to have a smile. And where the magic starts is that people have the thing that is called mirroring neurons. And when we look at each other, we tend to mirror our behavior, our emotional state, like the appearance that we have, the things that we are, radiating. And when you do that, you unconsciously force other people to smile and to feel better around you. Yeah. So this is one tactic that I want to share. It's the same as with yawning. When someone yawns, everybody yawns. And how what else you can do. You can try to empathize and think for all of the things that we taught, try to embody them in your work and in your team. And then when you think about those people as people, and you can, in a friendly conversation, you can try to somehow impose a Stoicism way of thinking for something. Try to talk about the reverse gap, show a little bit of vulnerability, say, hey, I'm so happy that we achieved that in the past. Okay, so help the person to feel happy for a second. And there are many things that you can easily think how to implement, not only on yourself but on your team, and how to improve the mood. When I say the power of the smile, I also always think about how often we tend to not be in the room, not live in the moment. So when you're somewhere sitting physically, or thinking about the problem which is somewhere else. And this is my other advice. When you're somewhere, like in a room, in a meeting room, be there, and this will make your current state a lot better. So you can dive into the conversation, be focused there, be mindful there, and when you try to radiate, I will say that word again, radiate happiness, it will affect all others.
Thanks for the practical advices. So in the end of our conversation, we should emphasize that happiness is not being cheerful and joyful through all the time. Being happy is about taking the good with the bad and learning how to reframe the bad. And happiness is not an end, it is a means. So it's like a leaky tire that you need to pump up all the time. So express gratitude, exercise more, be kind to people, be socially active and involved, find your flow and enjoy your life. Kal, final words from your side as well.
Yeah, pretty much we covered a good whole lot. And as a final word, I would say that everybody is responsible for their own happiness. Don't look at other people. Don't look at your boss. Don't look at your peers. Don't look at your employees. You're responsible for your own happiness, and you should always start with the mindset, because it doesn't matter how much of tactical advices we give you and how much of different perspectives. When you don't have the right mindset to change it and act upon it, it won't do you any good. So those are my final words, and I want to thank you, Stefan, for a great episode. We guys want to see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share our content. See you next week.
Thank you, guys. See you.